1949 Packard was the Series 23. It was broken down into the Packard 8, which rode the shortest wheelbase, 120 inches, powered by the 288 cubic inch displacement flathead inline 8 that made 130 horsepower, followed by the Super 8, which was powered by the bigger 327 that made anywhere between 145 to 150 horsepower. It rode the longer 127-inch wheelbase chassis. Both the Packard 8 and the Packard Super was broken down into standard and deluxe. Custom 8 was at the top, which also rode the 127-inch wheelbase chassis, but it was powered by Packard's 356 flathead inline 8, making 160 horsepower. The Super 8 was trimmed like the entry-level cars, but it rode the longer wheelbase. The wheelbase extension was all in the cowl/hood region. It shared the same grille as the lesser cars with the horizontal grille bars. It also featured longer side trim that overlapped the brake lights in the rear. Super Deluxe was different than the Super 8 in regards to the egg crate grille in the front, shared with the Custom, but it had the 327 inline straight 8, whereas the Custom had the 9 main bearing 356 engine. 1949 was also Packard's golden anniversary year, 50 years of Packard. For those that don't know, Packard was not defined in model years, but in series. Sometimes the series would change with the years, and other times series did not change with the years. It's super confusing. For example, the 23rd series starts in 1949 and it runs through 1950, with 1951 starting the 24th series. 49 was essentially a rebodied Clipper underneath all of that sheet metal. Facelifted in 1948, 1948 was the Series 22, and it was produced from September 8th of 1947 until May of 1949. The 1949 Packards were announced in November 1st, but, and this is where things get super confusing with Packard because they did series and not years. The Series 22 lasted until mid to late year of 1949, going to the Series 23. And all the Series 23 did was give it a minor facelift, which was kind of because this was Packard's golden anniversary, 50 years, and there wasn't that much fanfare. It wasn't that special. Sure, one could argue and say they did offer a golden run of cars, but the biggest announcement was the Ultramatic automatic transmission, which was a 2-speed plus reverse automatic transmission with hydraulic torque converter that could lock up. Fun fact, it was the only automatic transmission built by an independent manufacturer, and I know people will say, what about Studebaker? They partnered with Ford and Borg Warner to produce their unit. Packard did the Ultramatic alone. Headed by Packard's chief engineer, Forrest McFarlane, testing of this type of transmission dates back to 1935. McFarlane was a perfectionist, and it didn't meet his expectations, which is why it took 14 some years to develop. Before the release of the Ultramatic, to try to stay competitive with General Motors' Hydromatic, which was the industry's first fully automatic transmission, first appearing in Oldsmobile in 1939 for the 1940 Oldsmobiles. After World War II, Packard offered the Ultramatic vacuum clutch to try to stay competitive with the Hydromatic, but it was finicky at best. And why Packard didn't just use the Hydromatic is still a head-scratcher. Some sources claim that Packard spent $7 million to develop the Ultramatic and over $12 million in tooling costs. The Ultramatic drive came available in 1949, but it was only available on the Custom Series at an additional cost of $199, which would be equivalent to you spending $2,687.88 the year 2025. Let's talk specs. 211.7 inches long. It's about 77 inches wide, around 64 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 127 inches. It weighs 3,900 pounds. Price, $2,600, which would be equivalent to you spending $35,118.03 in the year 2025. Total, 1949 Packard was 116,955 units, of which the Super 8 variety was 8,569 units. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer for the Super 8, and that came in the 327 cubic inch displacement flathead inline 8. It was good for anywhere between 145 to 150 horsepower at 3,600 RPM, 264 pound-feet, or 361 newton meters around 2,400 RPM, with a bore of 3.5 inches and a stroke of 4.25 inches. Compression was 7-to-1, 5 main bearings, when backed with a 3-speed manual transmission, which was on the column. 0 to 60 could be had in 14.1 seconds with an alleged top speed of 91 miles per hour while achieving an average of anywhere between 12 to 13 miles to the gallon. Let's talk styling, starting with the bumpers. Just look at how these come around to the wheel opening. Also notice how this channels out here with protrusion that comes off the top and the bottom. Looks super classy. How this wing comes around. Got the turn signal indicator. Notice it has this bead line or embossed. Massive headlights with bright bezel around it. This one's got the amber fog lights, bumperettes and or overriders. Just notice how the bottom part here is more in than the top, protrudes out more. The hood has an ever so slight faint center line going back towards the split windshield with windshield wipers that come together. Just take a gander at this hood profile. Notice how the headlight protrudes outward slightly. Also notice how this fans out, and as you come down the side here, it kind of gets pinched together right in this area, and then it fans back out again. It's almost like a bow tie. So, just look at this bright trim piece. This is a Packard trademark here. It's usually found on like the hoods, but they moved it to a trim piece because they do a totally different style hood now. Beautiful white wall tires, which really set the hubcaps off with the beauty rings. Got Packard, and then that other Packard logo right there. The wheel openings are just rolled. Also notice they're more of like an oval shape than round. This car does not have rocker trim, but it does have beltline molding and or beltline trim. I love the way this Packard script font is. Notice how this windshield comes to a peak, also how it cascades up. Petite windshield wiper arms and blades. There is the radio antenna. Also notice the bright trim around the window gasket. Side mirrors and how they are designed. They are mounted to the door itself. Got drip rails that start at the base here, and they run the cabin of the car. Just look at all of the bright trim around the doors. Because this is a 4-door sedan, it has this post here in the center. And there's a trim piece here, here, and here. Also notice it has a keyhole on the driver's side, which is pretty rare for this era. but there is a lot more lines in this body than you can see from pictures from far away. This one has fender skirts. The rear bumper is wrapped clear back around to almost where the fender skirt is. I love this motif, how it continues back here, even though it's a totally different shape than the one in the front. The style mimics the one in the front, though being completely different. Just take a gander at this brake light. Gas filler is on the driver's side. Got a license plate light, one single backup light. And you're probably wondering what this is. Let's get in the trunk and I'll show you what that is. So here's what the trunk looks like. It's a pretty spacious trunk, all things considered. But this, you can fill up your spare tire. How about that? Never saw a feature like that before. Just to give you an idea of how high you have to lift groceries up to put it in the back there. Getting inside, but before we do, just take a look at how this door handle operates. Because this door is because this is a four-door sedan, it is completely framed out. So just look at how thick that frame is. My fingers for reference. And it obviously gets wider, thicker as it comes down. Door panel has like this vinyl material at the bottom with broadcloth. Armrest as well as door handle to pull the door shut. This is the door handle to get it out. And this is the window crank for the big window, which operates like this. Massive vent window in the front. Also, just take a look at this paneling and bright work here. Packard and the door seal itself. Notice how the floor is designed. There is a slight raise for the transmission tunnel. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, you have the high beam switch, clutch, brake, gas pedal, handbrake. Key goes in there. I'm just going to take it out real fast to show you what the key looks like. Third key looks like. There's hood release as well as light so you can see everything. This is to reset the odometer, trip odometer. Just take a look at this interior. On to the button switches and knobs, starting with the speedometer. Notice it's 110 mile per hour speedometer, but it only goes up to 11. You just have to add the other 0 in your head with odometer and trip odometer at the top. Also, all of the numbers go the same way. You got coolant temperature, amp meter, oil pressure, gasoline gauge, nice Packard and block letter formation at the bottom. Clock, the ashtray. This is a radio speaker, radio, it's the vertical type. Cigar lighter, headlights, which has a safety of sorts. One doesn't just push the button in, there is a catch at the bottom that you have to squeeze. It's a bit weird. Instrument panel lights, fog lights, map light, Ultramatic clutch, fan blower, air vent, heat temperature, defrost, another air vent for the passenger. On to the glove box test. Here's our test subject. Here is my hand for reference. Here is the glove box in question. So just look at that. I just like showing this because they don't look very big, but you can put a large amount of stuff inside that glove box, and it shuts. So just look at how this door is designed. Look at this big piece there that covers up this. Door panel's a lot like the door in the front. It just has a different design to it to go over this wheel opening, but same broadcloth. There is no armrest on the door panel itself. This is the door handle to get out. Window crank for the big window, which goes all the way down. Also notice this car has vent windows in the rear, which is a super classy feature. This is what the front looks like from the back. What visibility looks like out the back from the back seat. There's a big parcel shelf in the rear. Creature comforts, you have a dome light right there in the center, actuated by this switch right here. There is a robe rail for heavy blanket in the wintertime, as well as ashtray, cigarette lighter combo. Seat back profile, it is rather upright and it does dip down quite a bit in the back, but with that said, there's so much space back here. You could sit any way that you would want to sit and you'll never have a problem with space. I'm 6'2". I'm kind of like in a slouched position, but if I sat up more, I have 7.5 inches of space between my knee and the back of the seat. There is a footrest down here that you can put your feet up on. It's really nice. Transmission tunnel, interesting though. Up front, it's wider than it is back here. It like narrows down. So that's pretty interesting. There are not any coat hooks. The headliner looks really nice. It does have armrests on the bench itself. So that's the hood release on the driver's side. So the hood release is right here. The 6-volt slender battery variety right there. There's the oil bath air cleaner. But notice the carburetor's on the other side. Intake and exhaust is on the same side. Got your coil and the distributor, generator, oil filter. Notice the oil filter's outside the block. It's a single belt system that runs the fan water pump combo, generator. No power steering, no power brakes. Starter right down there. What's interesting is this hood opens up on both sides, but it only has a single hood prop. We'll go to the other side. These hoods were really cool because you could access both sides, or you could pull both pins and just take the hood completely off. Notice it's only one hood prop as previously mentioned. If you're going to the other side, you can just push this over there. There's a slot that it fits into. This is the intake and exhaust side. Looks like a 2-barrel carburetor, downdraft variety. Notice how the intake is under the exhaust. It's a spark plug arrangement. Underneath that heat shield is the mechanical fuel pump. As you can see, there's no accessories over here being belt driven.
So starting these, the starter button is actually under the gas pedal. So you turn the ignition on and you basically just takes a little bit to get used to that.
It's awesome seeing that bird at the end of the hood.
Yeah, and it amazes me how direct the steering is on this car. I mean, there's no play in the steering. I did put Diamondback radials on this, which probably help, but with the classic tread pattern. But
So what's the brakes like? They're
not bad. I mean, I don't ever feel like I'm stomping on it. Now they've all been redone, but I don't feel like I'm stomping on the brakes.
Yeah, everybody's car, like from especially back in the day, everybody's brakes were different.
Yeah, they're very very direct. I don't feel like they require tons of pressure.
Fords, even today, Ford was never good at brakes.
No.
My 52 Chevy stops better than the 67 Mustang I had.
Really?
Oh, it was terrifying.
Okay.
It's the first time I ever drove a Packard. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where the clutch lets out.
Nope, you're good.
Cool. The clutch definitely works better than in the 55 Nash. The Nash clutch wasn't bad. It was just it's a lot more smoother in this car. Should we just went this way?
Oh, that's fine.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, come on. That's so cool. It works so well. All different cars have different feelings and clutches and stuff. Like my
Yeah.
truck, it's all very linkage. Like you can feel everything.
Yeah.
Proper horn.
Yeah.
On the positive side, but let me talk a little bit about the driving experience. The car has great balance. Power steering, this car doesn't have, but I don't think it would really need it. It almost seems like it would be redundant. The clutch was light. Brakes worked great. They wasn't power brakes, which was very interesting, but it just felt so balanced. And if you had to do a dead stop, it would totally do a dead stop. What was really interesting to me is the clutch felt lighter than the gas pedal. The gas pedal it had like a really heavy return spring on it. It kind of reminded me of whenever I drove a Chrysler Cordoba when I was trying to buy one with a 318 lean burn. These cars are totally different, but I'm just saying the return spring on that, you really had to push the gas pedal down to go anywhere. Some people like a stiff gas pedal. It's all in preference. But it wasn't bad. I don't want you to think that I thought it was bad or anything like that. 3 on the Tree was smooth. The car glided down the road, and it looked awesome doing it. On the positive side, it's a spacious car throughout. Tons of space in the rear. The car just glides down the road. The hood opens on both sides, which is awesome. Plus, you can pull both pins and take the hood off. It just weighs a lot, so unless you just ate your Wheaties, I would not attempt doing this by yourself. Get a second person. You'll need help. Against it, it has that love it or hate it styling, not a pre-war Packard. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have 1949 Cadillac Series 61 4-door sedan or 1949 Packard Super 8 4-door sedan or 1949 Lincoln 4-door sedan? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. On to the second scenario. 1949 Hudson Commodore 8 4-door sedan or 1949 Packard Super 8 4-door sedan or 1949 Nash Ambassador Air Flight 4-door sedan. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. If you enjoyed this episode, there are over 680 episodes just like this one. We post 4 to 5 episodes a week. Don't say that for self-worth. And I'm a car enthusiast just like you guys, not an expert. But if you're interested, there's that. Thank you all so much for everything that you guys bring in the community. Until next time, toodaloo! For those that never made it to the after show, welcome to the after show. This part of the video doesn't have sound or commentary. It gives you the opportunity to see this car in its entirety without some bloke talking about all the lines and details that you could already see. Enjoy.